Alright, what's up guys? In today's video, we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the no stock attachment. I still think this is a very underrated attachment due to some of the hidden stats it has. They did recently nerf this a while back, which in my opinion took it from being an amazing attachment to an attachment that's only usable on certain weapons. So in today's video, we'll take a look at that list of weapons and see which guns this attachment is best on. Also take a look at the list of guns to avoid it on, guns that it's okay on, and then obviously the list of guns where you should never use it on. So the biggest factor when they nerfed it is they made the recoil a little bit worse, and they made the idle sway, aka the aiming stability, completely terrible. This attachment had a very minimal negative before, obviously still with those hidden stats, but now by making the recoil worse and the aiming stability worse, it completely lowers your overall accuracy, which makes it extremely hard to use. So the three hidden stats about it is obviously number one is the hipfire spread is improved, which is obviously excellent for SMGs. You get almost a 20% better hipfire, which is about the same as the improvement of the Merc foregrip. As far as your ADS strafe speed, when you're aimed down sight and you're strafing left to right, you get anywhere between 10 to 20% better, 20% being on your assault rifles, which 100% helps you win more gunfights in the close range. That's also a hidden stat about it. And the other unique stat that I really like is it makes your iron sights smaller. So you take a gun like the Kilo, the M4 that have really big iron sights that are kind of clunky, hard to see out of. By making the iron sight small, it's going to enable your field of view to be a little bit better. You're obviously going to be able to see enemies a little bit better. So the biggest factor is this worth using in Warzone? And I would say maybe, depending if you're using it on one of the top guns I'm going to recommend it for. But I 100% think it's usable in multiplayer. Obviously, you're playing shipment shootouts 24/7, or you're playing ground war really aggressively. Yes, it's definitely going to help due to the fact that you're not able to play against a guy that's 250 health. You can down a guy much faster. So it's definitely going to be excellent for multiplayer. Like I said, in Warzone is a maybe if you're using it on the best weapons possible. So as far as determining what makes a gun ranked where in the list, what we're taking a look at is how well it improves your movement speed, because that ranges anywhere from 2% on an SMG to almost 5% on an LMG, which is obviously a pretty big difference. Also, we're going to take a look at how much it improves your aim down sight time. Obviously, you guys know I made a video on the tac laser. Every single gun is different. So certain guns have faster ADS, slower ADS. On certain guns, your change could be anywhere from 10% better ADS to 20% better ADS. So we're going to take a look at how well it improves your aim down sight time. And the biggest factor is how much recoil does it actually add, because that's obviously probably the most important stat. So the simple list of which are the best guns, we have the 5 most best guns, whatever I just said, most best you should be using on. The best gun to use it on is the Holger 26. As far as your improvement on your ADS, it's actually number 1 out of every single gun in the game. You get a 20% faster ADS, like I said, is the most improved out of every gun in the game. Obviously, they've buffed the ADS on this twice, and that is where the biggest factor is this still has the same ADS change from the original Holger, which they haven't nerfed the no stock on this gun, which is where it gets the best improvement on. You also get the fastest movement speed improvement, 4.5% faster on the Holger. So this is an excellent weapon to use it on. The number 2 weapon is going to be the Kilo 141. This gun obviously has a very low recoil. By making the recoil a little bit worse, you're really not going to notice it. The biggest factor why I recommended it was simply due to the accuracy of this weapon, and you also get the best improvement on your aim down sight time out of every single assault rifle. So the Kilo has a fast ADS, one of the fastest, and it gets the best improvement, so it keeps the gun fast where it's pretty good. The number 3 gun I'm going to recommend on is going to be the Grau 556. You get an excellent ADS improvement, almost as good as the Kilo, and you actually have the second least amount of recoil added to the gun, tied with the M13. So this gun has a very good recoil pattern in my opinion, has an excellent ADS in my opinion. So these two things are keeping it where it's good, which is why it's one of the best guns to use it on, which I personally have always used the no stock before the nerf on the ground due to this factor. So the number 4 gun, which could be the number 1 gun, is the MP5. You do get the least amount of vertical recoil out of every single SMG by a long shot. A lot of the SMGs have a pretty terrible recoil with no stock. The MP5 has the least out of every single SMG, which is where it's excellent. You also do get the second fastest improvement to your aim down sight time out of all the SMGs. So this gun is amazing for the collapsible stock. I actually just uploaded a video on it, and I 100% recommended the no stock for it. The big negative is it doesn't improve your stray speed as much as all the other SMGs, but it's still excellent. And the fifth gun I'm going to recommend it on is the M13. You get the least amount of recoil out of all the assault rifles. As far as your improvement in your ADS is average, your movement speed is below average. But due to the fact that it doesn't add a lot of recoil and it improves your movement speed, and this gun already has an amazing recoil pattern, it's keeping the gun good where it's best. So that's why I recommend it on the M13. Those are the only 5 guns I'm going to go completely in depth on besides the worst guns to use it on, just because those are the 5 guns I 100% recommend on them, which is the point of the video, to talk about which are the best guns to use it on. So the next list of guns we're going to take a look at is guns to 100% avoid it on. The first 2 are guns that aren't as bad. The Fennec gets the worst improvement in your aim down sight time. Your stray speed's also pretty average, your movement speed's average, and your recoil is actually very good. But due to the fact that it doesn't really improve your ADS much, like significantly worse than the rest of SMGs, I really don't recommend it on that. And then the next gun is the MP7. Due to the fact that this gun is an SMG, it has the fastest stray speed already, and it has one of the fastest movement speeds in the entire game. I recommend it for that reason, due to the fact that it keeps the MP7 best, where it's already the best. But the biggest factor is you do get the least amount of improvement in your ADS out of all the SMGs besides the Fennec. So it's the second worst out of the 6 SMGs. And it gets the worst amount of recoil added. The MP7 is an excellent weapon for recoil in my opinion. And taking a gun where it's best and making it worse is going to take away from the greatness of that weapon. Like I said, it does improve the MP7 where it's best, but it also makes it where it's worst. So I don't really recommend it due to the fact that it really lowers your accuracy, which in my opinion is what's the best thing for the MP7. So that's why I really would personally never use it on the gun. Definitely going to change my class setup after researching this. And the 3 guns to 100% avoid it on. Number 1 is going to be the Scar. It gets the worst improvement as far as the no stock. You get the worst amount of recoil added. So this gun has the worst recoil after adding no stock, worse than every other gun by a long shot. You also get the worst improvement in your aim down sight time. So the percentage of change of the no stock adding to your aim down sight time is the lowest out of every LMG and every single assault rifle, which is last out of like 15 guns, which is obviously very negative. This gun's a very accurate weapon in my opinion, so to lower it where it's the best is obviously going to significantly make the gun worse. So 100% avoid it on the Scar. The next gun is going to be the Uzi, which in my opinion is in the same category as the MP7. It's an excellent mobility weapon, and it's a pretty accurate weapon. So it gets the worst movement speed change out of every gun in the game. Also gets the worst recoil added out of every gun in the game besides the Scar and the MP7. And you get a below average change in your ADS. Obviously has the fastest ADS. So you basically get a worse recoil to make the gun a little bit better where it's already good. So the improvements aren't much. The negatives are massive. So 100% avoid it on the Uzi. And the worst gun to use it on is the PKM. It gets the worst improvement in your aim down sight time out of all the LMGs. You also get the worst movement speed improvement out of all the LMGs. And due to the fact that it makes your recoil worse on the PKM, which in my opinion is one of the most accurate weapons, I 100% recommend avoiding it on the PKM. But those are basically the 5 guns to avoid it on. The list of guns that it's good on, which you could try in a class setup, is a pretty good list. You have the MG34, the CR56 AMAX, the M4, the AK-47, the AN-94, and the Bruin. 3 of those guns are actually a somewhat meta weapon in Warzone. Definitely pretty good in multiplayer, the M4 and the CR56. So I would recommend trying no stock out on those. It's very good, but not as good as the 5 best weapons. So that's pretty much it for the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy, learn something new. If this video helps you guys build a better class setup, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Come follow me over on twitch.tv/Trapgod. Come follow my live stream. Make sure you guys use my discount code on all of your Scuff and GFUEL purchases. and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.